All right, so you know what's super cool about my job? I get to coach people all around the world. I have coached people over in the UK, I've coached people in Australia. I get to coach all kinds of wonderful people all over the world. And I want to share a lesson or something to be thinking about from Australia. So in Australia, they have lifted a lot of their COVID restrictions. People are becoming more social. They're going out to eat again. They're getting together. And my client had been doing really well losing weight during COVID. And then all of a sudden everything opened up and she has been getting invites multiple times a day to go out to eat, hang out with friends. And so her weight kind of started to go back up a little. And we got talking about this and we talked about being very intentional and setting some personal boundaries. And so I just want to kind of drop this information here. I know every single state in the US is handling, the whole COVID situation differently as far as when things reopen, what the limitations and restrictions are. But I think this is just a good nugget to kind of sit on, stew on, and think through. So she went from 0 social engagements to, she averaged it out, I think 1 to 2 per day. So like overnight, right? A huge change. And when we talk about habits here, right? What are habits? Habits are things we do routinely. And COVID, the whole quarantine situation, all of this has forced a lot of quick habit change within this last year that we really didn't intentionally do. So we had our lives before, then we went into lockdown, right? Everything changed. A lot of people stopped being social, started hanging out at home, working from home, educating kids from home. So there was an abrupt change to your habits that you really didn't necessarily intentionally select. Now, when things reopen, you are going to get to make the decision on how you want to proceed. You might give yourself a 2-week do whatever pass, like you literally live at restaurants and eat and drink yourself into a coma. You might choose to do that. You might be the person who's super apprehensive and you're like, nope, not going to do any of it. What I want to encourage you, and this is what I told my coaching client, what we know is 0 outings, cooking at home was leading to X amount of weight loss per month. Then everything opened, you went to 1 to 2 social engagements per day. All of a sudden your weight kind of started to maintain or just slightly gain. So what we said was, what is that amount of activity? And then what would you want it to look like so you could still be social, but be able to be social and keep making progress on your goals? And this is the kind of thing you may want to think about now, because if you look at what you were doing before COVID with eating out and being social, and it wasn't leading to the results, but you've been one of those people who's had good results during this lockdown because you're not eating out, you're not being social, you may want to think about what would be a realistic boundary you'd want to put on it. So she actually started thinking about the fact she wanted to do 2 to 3 restaurants per week max, and then invite her friends over for social stuff and cook the food at her house, right? So she was formulating a plan based on what happened, but she basically said it happened so quick, right? Everything opened, people got excited, people started inviting everybody out places. And so I just want to, kind of put this in as a cautionary tale that we may see a similar thing here, depending on what state you live in, depending on what restrictions get lifted. You may all of a sudden see this buzz of excitement. There might be all the people inviting you and wanting to meet up at restaurants and things of that nature. And there's nothing wrong with that. Please hear me on that. I get this has been a rough year for everybody, but I do, just as this is my coaching hat I'm wearing now, I do just want to make sure I point out that if you go into that without having a thought on how you want it to look, you might allow it to go past 1 or 2 weeks of excitement and getting caught up with everybody to that's your new normal again. And you might find yourself struggling if you were somebody who was being successful without all that social busyness, right? On the flip side, some people have really struggled being at home, and they may find that it's actually good for them to get out. So I just wanted to have this conversation. I just noticed it when I see things changing like that around the world and the impact that that can have. It triggers the thought of, oh, maybe we could get better prepared, right? So just hear my words, recognize the fact that everyone's situation is very unique to them. But I do believe that after going for a very long time without eating out, without being social with your friends and family, there might be that desire to jump into the deep end. And that might be okay for a certain period of time. But then you want to have in the back of your mind this conversation we're having where you say, you know, if I still want to make progress, if I still want to lose weight, maintain my weight, whatever, maybe I need to put a cap on how much I'm eating out of the house moving forward, finding a new balance, right? So COVID was 0. Before COVID, who knows what you were doing? Now, after COVID and the quarantine, you maybe can be more intentional and select an amount of eating out that works for your goals, but also fills your heart and makes you happy, because that's all part of this too. So anyway, that is just a thought today from the Down Under, because again, they had a slight change here due to their numbers going way down and things improving. All right, you guys have a fantastic day, and I will talk to you soon.